tonight, well, there has been a lot of controversy, not really controversy per se, but some misunderstanding regarding the utterances of Pastor Mensa Otabil with his view concerning free education in Ghana. Well, if you ask me, I do not see anything wrong with the tape being played, except, of course, perhaps Pastor Mensa Otabil is a bit uncomfortable with the timing of the release of his sermons way back in 2003. But if it is valid in 2003, why would it not be valid now? Would Pastor Mensa Otabil come out and perhaps say he has changed his position on free education? But to answer this question and more, I have been joined in the studio by two powerful guests. Mr. Benjamin Achinabrenchu, member of the NDC government communication team, and then also been joined, he's also a presidential staffer, by the way, and also been joined by Mr. Samuel George Neti, another member of the government communication team, to help me do justice to this topic. Towards the end of the program, I would activate the phone line so you can share in your views, and then we could have a very fruitful discussion. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time here.
You're welcome.
George, religion and politics, that scares me because I know it could serve as a breeding ground for fundamentalism, extremism, you know, the like of Al-Qaeda, if you want to say that, people trying to use religion and then, in politics to cause mayhem. I do not think that is what we are experiencing in Ghana at the moment. Am I right?
Well, Ali, a very good evening to our guests, our listeners, our viewers, and to my co-panelist and yourself. The point must be made here succinctly that we stand on a threshold in terms of the role of religion in our body politics. I believe, as a Bible-believing Christian, the Bible is replete with the institution of governance, which invariably is politics. In the Old Testament, God was king of Israel. And when the Israelis or the Israelites decided that they wanted a king, a human king they can see, God gave them their first king, Saul. And subsequently, the prophets of God, men of God, were the ones who anointed kings over God's people in Israel. Even when you look at Islam and the Prophet Muhammad and the way the Crusades happened, where they brought the teachings of the prophets to new lands, and you look at the whole northern part of Africa, the Middle East, they spread the message of the Holy Prophet, and when they did that, they established caliphates to make sure that they could propagate that message. And so religion and politics have been together from time immemorial. Where we stand today, vis-a-vis the Otabil debacle, as I choose to call it, brings us to that position where we ask ourselves, are we allowing men of God assume a bigger role than they ought to assume as God espoused? Are they moving from being oracles of God, which means vessels of God, mouthpieces that God uses to speak to the people, to becoming demigods themselves, where you cannot question them, you cannot ask them questions, you cannot interpret what they say? I think it is troubling as a Christian for me to see this develop. You've seen where similar things happened 30, 20 years ago within certain circles in Islam, not the whole of Islam, and it led to fundamentalism, where certain clerics became untouchable.
Indeed.
In becoming untouchable, they had absolute control over the minds of their followers, and they decided to touch the most vulnerable or ideologically vague group, which is the youth. And today you have them being able to tell young men that the right way to go, or the teachings of the Prophet, peace be unto him, is for you to engage in suicide bombing. That clearly cannot be found in the good book, the Quran.
At all.
There is nothing about suicide bombing in the Quran. They have put their own interpretation on the philosophy of jihad, which is supposed to be a holy war.
Indeed.
And they wage a callous war on humanity and name it jihad, which is skewing the words of the good prophet to suit their own parochial interest. Christianity stands on that threshold. Today we have men of God in whose churches, when miracles happen, They do not say praise the Lord. They mention the name of those pastors.
They pray in the names of the pastors.
Yes, those pastors are the ones working the miracles. Now you have a man of God telling us that whatever he says, his thoughts, his words are his property.
Bona fide property.
I thought the words spoken on the pulpit of God, on the altar of God as a Christian, are supposed to be known as the word of God. That is why before a pastor comes to preach, they ask the church, shall we welcome the man of God who is coming to give to us the word of God?
Indeed, that's an interesting perspective. But I'll come back to you for whether or not the NDC is against Christianity, a position that I think is already known to Ghanaians. Benji, as Pastor Mensa Otabil writes to claim ownership to his words, as George indicated, I mean, this I have heard from some quarters that this is a commercial property because he preaches to Ghanaians and sometimes it's for sale.
Okay, Ali, just permit me to also lay a little claim to religion.
Of course.
As I sit here as the son of a pastor. I was brought up in a mission house, and my parents are currently pastors of the Church of Pentecost in the Shaman district. I fellowship with the Church of Pentecost, New Achimota Worship Center.
Okay.
I brought this thing up to indicate that I deeply respect the Christian faith, and not just the Christian faith. In a democracy like ours, we've all been through our constitutional arrangement, been made to even respect all religions that we do not necessarily share. And to that extent, Ghana as a country do not have any religious issues or in terms of inter-religion fights and other things. And that has largely also spared our country to development, because elsewhere that has actually made development retrogress. So that's a very happy development for us. I participate in this discussion reluctantly also because religion seems to have some emotive aspects to it. Many people who are in religion do not necessarily look at the issues involved. They don't look at the logic or the merit of the situations on board. They look at the extent to which their faith drives them. It's like football. Sometimes it's even like politics. So when you veer into the issue, especially when the subject is about somebody who has largely established himself into the minds and hearts of many people, then it becomes as if you are pitching yourself against a force. That is not what we seek to do this evening. As a political party where I come from, the NDC in 1992, through the arrangement of the Constitution, made it possible that all people in this country can practice their faith and in peace. Beyond that, NDC as a political party has always tended to give leadership of this country that upholds the highest standards of religion, be it within the Muslim faith or other religions. So we were so much comfortable that our last president, Professor Mills, actually became the single most highest endorsement for the religious faith, even to the point of mockery. So people should not in any way doubt our commitment. If we are here this evening, it is simply to bring our opinion on a national issue which many other people are contributing to. Directly to your question, is Mensa Otabil right? It is not a question of whether Mensa Otabil is right or not. Mensa Otabil says that he has been libeled, he has been defamed, he has been wrongly accused or placed in a position that had made people violate his integrity. So to that extent, when he sought to organize a public forum or a public platform to discuss or put those issues into perspective, we hope that he will actually set the record straight. You understand? That is it. Unfortunately, when Mensa Otabil, of course, before I even get there, the main issues here was that he said his voice have been manipulated. It has been distorted. It has been concocted. It has been pieced together. In fact, he said it has been spliced.
Yeah, spliced.
You know, so we were hoping that the platform that he had was going to actually lay those issues to bear and set the record straight. Unfortunately, there were specific questions that came up during the press conference. Reverend Otabil, which of your messages have been pieced together, have been doctored, have been spliced? His answer, I don't want to go into it. That's the first one he made.
But that's unfair.
Well, the listeners will make the judgment, but that is what he said. So wherein lies the accusation? That people have doctored your tape, so you are going to clarify your position. So where have your boys been doctored? I don't want to go into it. That's the first point. The other point that he also made so clear is that the sermon that is being played on air were preached several years back. So they asked him, Reverend Otabel, when was this sermon recorded? Again, that one, I don't want to go into it.
That was the response he gave.
Yes, he doesn't want to go into it. So he didn't tell the many sermons. First, James Afedo of the Express, of the Daily Express, asked him to give the titles of the various, so that people could search for it.
Okay.
He didn't give it, and they wanted to know the time so that they can actually put it. He said several years. He didn't give the time. Then he did something which I thought was most shocking. Somebody who has been accused, allegedly wrongly, and he wanted to clear his name, rather took the opportunity to equally accuse other people.
Yeah, I want you to deal with the accusation and the counter accusation as Majority Caucus, and tonight's discussion as religion and politics fallout from Pastor Mensa Otabel's press conference and matters arising. With me in the studio is Benjamin Achina Brentu, presidential staffer and the member of government communication team. Also joined in as Mr. Samuel George United, member of government communication team. So Benji, quickly on your point.
So like I was saying, whilst he was lamenting the fact that people have wrongly accused him, he did the most unexpected. He went ahead to also accuse the corporate NDC and the president directly, and I thought that was most unfair because the platform was to settle the fact that it is not good to wrongly accuse people. Then you use the same platform, and you see, if accusing Mahama and the NDC members and their surrogate, as he put it, were something that was based in fact, that wouldn't have been the problem. He did not provide any evidence beyond the accusation. That was deeply troubling. The other point I also want to make is this. The two tapes that have come up is Mensa Otabel's position on or die be die and also on education.
Yes.
These are my simple questions, just quickly. Did he say all die be die is not a good thing? Did he say that? Did he also say that education can never be free? You understand? Assuming he didn't say those things, to set the record straight, what is pastor's position on all die be die? What is pastor's position as an entrepreneur in education and a stakeholder as that? Indeed. What is his position on whether education should be cost sharing, full cost recovery, or free?
Indeed.
Those were the answers I wanted.
It is an interesting question you've asked, because really what would have been the difficulty would be that perhaps you cannot force him to comment.
Exactly.
But once he has commented, we need to know if he still stands by
that. No, Ali, it is not a luxury for him to whether he will comment or not.
In fact, the comment has already been made.
There's an accusation.
Okay.
That these are his comments.
Okay.
So it is for him to put what his position on those things actually are, so that it can contradict or prove
the existing claims. Indeed.
That is full proof. Then we can say, oh, these guys are liars. These guys are not. But what is also turning out is that the guys who are accusing, the guys who are playing the tapes, the Education Watch, seems to have gathered some boldness. Indeed, they have served public notice that they did not splice his sermons, and that they are going ahead to play the entire sermon
this morning,
from which they catch the extracts. And they've gone ahead to also actually back their claims with action.
Yeah.
So it's becoming an issue of credibility.
I'll come back to we do with the bodies behind this advertisement and the release of the thing. But George, quickly, the NDC, are you against religion, Christianity, to be precise?
You know, anybody who says that the NDC is against Christianity or religion in general clearly has his history lessons deficient. In this country, pick any of the major churches in this country, and I'll tell you that they are highly indebted to the NDC. Action Chapel, you know where they are today. That land was rezoned and given to them by Honorable E.T. Mensah, then as mayor of Accra, under the PNDC administration.
To build a church.
To build a church. A church was not to be there in the original plan. But because we understood that the people of that catchment area needed a place of worship, and at that time, then Bishop Duncan Williams, now Archbishop Duncan Williams, requested for that place. The PNDC, NDC at that point in time gave in to that demand. It is also instructive to note that whilst ICGC was, I hope would not be misinterpreted, and I think with the passage of time, its effect should have been left. Where ICGC stands today should have been the site for the National Mosque.
That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah. Again, it was rezoned, and that is why you see the proximity between the National Mosque at Abusi Okai. It is just that huge canal that separates Abusi Okai and ICGC. The mosque, at the National Mosque, where the National Imam prays, and ICGC. Once again, the NDC had to bend way over back, meet the then Chief Imam, and reach an understanding with him that we should create space for Mensah Otabil to have that land to build his church. Word Miracle Church International, where you have the Perez Dome, Jolly Junction.
Yes, I know
that place used to be produced by meat production company, behind produced by PBC. Once again, when it was being divested, we said a church should have it. When corporate Ghana wanted that space, we said no. Our friends are the bishops and archbishops and pastors and doctors, and we'll give it to them. And so if anybody says that the NDC is opposed to Christianity, we have done the most to entrench Christianity in this country. What is a church without its buildings? What is a church without a place of worship? It is the same NDC that did its best to ensure that in passing the laws that govern taxation, we exempted tithes and offertories. And by a very large extension, many of the pastors have abused that law. When they sell their CDs, their messages, how many of them pay revenue tax to the country?
Not that I can think of.
Your tithe, your offering is non-taxable. But when you sell tapes, it is a commercial activity. I heard Nana Santi Bedio too say that Mensah Otabil had economic and moral rights in terms of copyright law over his material because it is his preaching.
Oh, you're a law student.
As a law student, it's very interesting because if he wants to claim economic right, he who seeks equity must come with clean hands.
Clean hands, indeed.
He should show us his tax invoices.
Equity is equality.
Exactly. There must be, he must, to have earned economic rights, he must have assumed economic liability in terms of taxes for the tapes that are being sold. But I stand to be corrected. If you go to the Central University's campus today at Mutual, they have what they call an ideology center that is named after one of the stalwarts of the NPP tradition. Go there and find out.
The church premises?
No, the school, the Central University College.
Okay.
This is to give you a background of where this is coming from. I would not take Pastor Otabil on because I think it is insignificant for the NDC's forward march to victory in 2012. Some other time, that will be a debate for some other time.
Okay.
But for me, I will take on the issues he has raised and the issues both on the tape and at the press conference. The issues on the tape he spoke about, those who say all die be die are bad company. and the stress is on the
bad company.
Bad company. Did Mensah Otabil say that? Or was it doctored and spliced? He said so. Did Mensah Otabil say in his tape of 10 years ago that anything free, you can't question the quality? And so you must pay so that you would have the dignity of a father?
He stressed on the pay. If you want quality education,
exactly, you must pay.
Yeah.
He has a nice way of stressing on certain words. Did he say that? Was that spliced? Once again, thanks to Education Watch and the tapes we listen to today on Radio Gold and Munti FM, those tapes exist. Once again, the tape of 23rd October 2012.
Very recently,
where he says that, and in that message, he was actually not even talking about education. He was admonishing his congregants to learn to work hard and earn money, and told them to build a better life for themselves or for their children than themselves. So that if you had, and then that's where he got into education, because he started first from saying, if your father had 3 wives, you should have 1 wife. If your father drank, you shouldn't drink. And then he ended up by saying, if you had a primary education, make sure your child has a better education. And instead of right now, they say it to be free. And he laughs. You could see the mockery in his laughter when he was talking about the free SHS. And he goes on to say that if you go for the free thing, the knowledge they will bring to you, and he left it hanging.
So really, that begs the question, where is the NDC's crime in all this? I don't see it.
Ali, the NDC and NPP have traded verbal blows in this country. Not just this election campaign, since 1992. We've been at each other's necks with verbal innuendos. Never in one statement has the NDC or the NPP used the kind of words that were used by a man of God on each other. We haven't even descended that low into the gutters. Yet a man of God went there yesterday. He called us evil. He called us a marauding force.
No, a marauding and a bullying
force. Oh, you have the statement,
force.
A marauding and bullying force. He called us unethical. He called us criminal.
Machiavellian.
And he went ahead and called us Machiavellian.
That's a serious.
Niccolo Machiavelli represents the depths, the lowest of the lowest of evil. Of human capacity for evil.
Because
an
education watch played
his voice,
his own sermons.
No, he also called you schizophrenics.
He called us schizophrenics.
Even more
now,
than
yes. Now the point I must make, Ali, is this. This is a man who in 2008, the NPP used to great political capital when they said that if you voted for the NDC, Mensah Otabil, along with about 29 others on a 30-man hit list, would be assassinated in this country.
He mentioned that in his statement.
And he said that for that, when he was allegedly put on a hit list, it did not even warrant him to speak. Yet when you play back the words which God spoke through him, I am not afraid he's afraid of those words. Those words are not Mensah Otabil's words. Those words are the words of the creator of heaven and earth. And when God speaks, the Bible tells us that his word will not return void unto him until they accomplish the reason for which they went out. God spoke through Otabil 10 years ago that in this country, quality education would be victorious over free education. And today, Otabil is afraid of the word of God.
Indeed.
But it is the living word.
Yes, on that note, I'll take my second break. Forgive me, viewers. And when we come back, Benji will tell us indeed whether the position of the NDC is justified. Stay with me. Back to the show. This is Majority Caucus. If you're just joining us, we've been discussing the matters arising from Pastor Mensah Otabil's tape with regards to some issues that he seems to be very uncomfortable with being played by the Education Watch Committee. Benji, really, my difficulty is that a pastor has preached his sermons. NDC, or not even the NDC, a committee, an independent organization, saw it fit to make use of it. Obviously, the words of the pastor are not perishable. I can say that. It goes to benefit the NDC, to be sincere.
Ali, I like us to put the issues into perspective.
Of course.
if the pastor feels that he has been libeled, he has been defamed, the group that is behind this thing, the founder is a senior lecturer, I'm told, on the University of Ghana campus.
Okay.
They exist. He should take them on in court. We can settle this issue once and for all. It's very important. It is not enough for you to also go out and libel people. For a man of his character, stature, it is way below him. And I don't say it out of disrespect. I will be happy if he sues them so that we get a legal precedent on these issues. The other thing also about his voice is being used, he doesn't like that. As I sit on your studio, or on your platform here, I don't have the choice, get it? I don't have the luxury to tell Multi-TV not to use the sound bites I'm currently producing. It is not for me to say that Multi-TV should use it or not. Since Kwame Nkrumah's time, they've been playing his sound bites. No royalty goes to his family. They keep playing it. There have been very horrible things politicians have said in this country. Sometimes we have to go and beg journalists that, as for this one, we beg, hide it. But they don't hide it. Look, when Nana Akufo-Addo made his point about Ekwetiampo Yechiro mu bibimpo, Etiwa Yechiro mu bibimpo, when there were comments by like militants on our side will rise up. When Nana Kumia uses infamous stupid fool, Masa, if you are in Nana Kumia or you are Nana Addo and you are sitting in your house and you hear these things being played on air, you are not happy
at all,
because it doesn't represent you in a manner that you really feel you should be represented. I mean, you said those things anyway, but you don't want people to know that this is what the image the public should have over you.
Because it's in
But
bad
does
taste.
Nana Addo have the choice to tell any media house in Ghana here that don't play those sound bites?
Never.
When Professor Mills made a slip of economy,
They use it as jingle.
and it became a ringtone.
Yeah, ringtone, yeah.
You see, I don't know why we want to
I know of
stretch.
a radio station, TV station, that use it as jingle.
You know, let's quickly. That's what I'm saying. That's why when I started, I went into the issues. He has been defamed. That's not good. So he should tell us how he has been defamed. He didn't say it. You understand? Then he went ahead to make his own allegations, which he didn't provide the proof. Then the group that is libeling him comes out to say that, okay, fine, our credibility is at stake here. So they go ahead and send the full sermon to all the media houses. Now, any media house that doesn't play it has just decided not to play it. But it is not a question of they having it or not. And this is why I moved to the media. There seemed to be a certain tendency. People can say all manner of words to Nana Addo. People can say all manner of words to Mahama. People can say all manner of words to Achina. Maybe because we are politicians. People say things to politicians, and journalists will grill you as if you are not a human being. But why are the journalists in this instance not asking the questions they should ask Reverend Otabel?
You mean the right question?
Yes, that will settle it. It looks as if they are above the questioning tag. Look, I'll just tell you something, and maybe I'll just end with it. In 2008, he himself alluded to it, that there was a certain hit list which he was drawn in. He was not drawn in. The MPP as a political party, in their quest to gain political advantage and paint the NDC as anti-democrats, NDC as a violent party, decided to appeal to the middle class by manufacturing a list of respectable people in the country and claiming that those people are going to be killed. Unfortunately, the behavior of those respectable people at the time is not in anywhere near how Mensa Otabel is responding to this particular one. And I'll just read how the statesman reported it at the time. A former general overseer, and this 2008, a former general overseer of the Methodist Church of Ghana, Most Reverend Dr. Samuel Asante has challenged security agencies to act expeditiously to confirm the veracity or otherwise of an alleged hit list compiled by former President Rawlings if the NDC win the elections. This is how the Reverend put it. He goes on. The list, made up of prominent men and women in all sectors of the economy, was sent by an email. Other death threats have been sent via text. Reverend Asante name is also on the list. Reverend Asante, who is also a member of the Council of the State, told the statesman in an interview that he has been receiving death threats, giving credence to the allegation. He has been receiving death threat messages through emails containing names of prominent people like ministers of God, ministers of state, politicians, businessmen, journalists, and other society, other people in the society by the former president. They've shortlisted these names to deal with them. I am not being personal to any political party. The Reverend Minister himself says it. Because it seems Rawlings himself has certain pertinent problems with some members of the NDC, and that is why the hot list even have some big members of the NDC in it. Then it goes on and on to provide names of Otabel and many other big people in the society. This is how the clergy treated it. Fast track to 2012. You say that you have also been drafted into it. Let's say that this drafting you are talking about. Why is it that when the MPP drafted you in 2008, you didn't describe them as evil, mischief makers, schizophrenics, criminals, and and there's a daily graphic report which we'll be producing, which actually also authenticates that.
Also must be stated on record, and that allegation was even more dangerous than.
This is about murder.
Yeah.
This is about murder.
So one would expect that the response will be.
I'm putting it here, the Reverend Otabel, from our sources in Daily Graphic reports, and I have heard it from Mr. Timothy Goba, that they have report of Mr. Otabel who confirmed to the graphic that actually he fears for his life. So he confirmed it. However, in 2012, you go ahead and insult members of the party and brings the president into the fray. Why will you treat these scenarios in a different manner? Especially when the group which is doing this have owned up that we are the people doing it. And one last thing I just would like to also talk about. He says that he is angry because these issues have exposed him to public ridicule and scorn. You know, when the issues came up, it was the MPP that came on the full attack to insult him.
Come into the position of
so
the
his fear, what he's trying to avoid is attack and insults on the MPP. Even if what he said is true. Do you know what Stephen went through for the sake of the Bible? Stephen was fried in oil. Peter was crucified upside down. Others were stoned to death. Jesus himself was crucified. John the Baptist's head was cut. And if in our days...
Just playing the tip amounts to
ridicule. I'm saying that if in our days, our pastors will go to length to make sure that they are not identified with issues which are hot, so that they don't incur the wrath of certain sections of our society. It tells us a lot. And I'm thinking that...
You smell some...
and what is even strange is that you had Reverend Fred Digby, you know, sitting by him. And my fear is that...
But I have heard some rumor. I do not know.
No, I don't want to go into the rumors.
Some of them were not privy to the full content
of the press statement. I don't want to go into the rumors. But what I'm saying is that, our pastors have advised us that anytime members of political parties misbehave, we should give them up. We shouldn't rally behind them. We shouldn't do that kind of NDC MPP thing. People should answer for their issues. When there's an issue such as this, which involves one member of the Christian community, and you have the leadership of the Christian Council flanking him in a press conference, which he insults, use words which are unprintable to denigrate, even to by association, the president. And are we tempted to believe that you are shielding your own? You identify with the words he's using?
Yeah,
what are their positions on these things?
I will come back to the position of the Christian Council on this one. But before we do that, George, what has been the position of the MPP on this matter? Like I said, I've also heard some rumors again that perhaps Pastor Mensah Otabil has come under intense pressure, from some unforeseen hands.
You see, Ali, it is interesting that today the NDC is being called evil and all of that. When the first tape came out, you should have heard the words people like Gabriel Tridako used to describe Reverend.
To refresh our memory.
Pastor Mensah Otabil. He said he was out of touch with reality. Okay, they condemned him. Somebody like what was his name? Ogbami. Alfred Ogbami went viral on him, and Alfred Ogbami is a member of ICGC.
Okay.
If Mensah Otabil has anything to fear, it is the marauding and bullying force of the NPP and its machinery. Because we have stood by him in all times. In his most trying period, we stood by him. And you see, Ali, I want to use this platform to reach out to one who will refer to or regard as a spiritual father, Pastor Mensah Otabil, that as a man of God, he should apologize to the president, not to the NDC, to the president. You do not insult the NDC, of which the president is the leader. Call them all the names. When you do that, automatically you are calling the president all of those things. You finish calling the president evil, calling the president Machiavellian, calling the president schizophrenic, and then you ask the president to call his party to order.
But he left it to God.
Then after doing all of that, you now say you are leaving it to God.
And the president who is a Christian.
You see, Ali, Pastor Mensah Otabil must lead by example.
Okay.
He must come out and apologize to His Excellency the President.
Okay.
And state what his position is. You see, I heard Reverend Autry say that, he was asked clearly, what is Pastor Mensah Otabil's position on free education? And he said that the church had issued a statement earlier, about 2 weeks ago. Now, Ali, if you take that statement and you look at paragraph 3, the church says that Pastor Mensah Otabil's views on free education are as espoused in the Constitution, and that it covers from basic education to senior high school. Now, reading Article 25 of the 1992 Constitution, which spells out Article 25(1)(b.
Allow me to do this. When we come back, you are going to go through that quickly, and then we'll look at the press statement issued by the NDC Director of Communication for Campaign John Mahama 2012. Welcome back to the show. This is Majority Caucus Live on your multi-TV, and I will activate the phone line shortly so you could join in the discussion. But before that, George, if you could...
Yes, the point I was making was in paragraph 3 of the statement signed by Reverend Autry on behalf of the ICGC Church, what was stated there was that Reverend Otabil agrees with the constitutional provisions, okay? The constitutional provisions as espoused in the 1992 Constitution for free education. Now, that constitution in Article 25, 1A defines basic education to mean from basic school to junior high school. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and the NPP define their basic education to extend to the senior high school. Pastor Otabil's statement tells us that...
let me do this quick exercise. I'll get back to you. The phone line to reach in the studio is 0302-211-70124, 0302-211-70124. Yeah, George.
Pastor Mensah Otabil's statement tells us that he believes that free education, as espoused in the Constitution, is from basic school to senior high school, which clearly means that they are not referring to the 1992 Constitution. They are rather referring to the manifesto of the NPP.
Indeed.
As the Constitution of this Republic. And that betrays the position Pastor Mensah Otabil espoused yesterday in his press statement, where he says that his position differs from the NDC and the NPP's position. The man has already told us that his position is constitutional. and he misquotes the constitution to suit a political party's agenda.
If it is constitutional, that will be the position of the NDC.
Exactly. You get it. And so you see the hypocrisy is palpable.
Let me pick this phone call and then I'll get back to you. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Good evening and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good evening. This is Babs calling from Bolga.
Babs, you're on air.
Good evening to my gentleman, NDC. Yesterday night, we had our share of meeting the president. It was marvelous.
Indeed.
Bolga came to a standstill, though it was in the night, but we really enjoyed our share of the campaign trail. He stopped yesterday night. We thank God for the life of our president
and all
appointees of government. And then coming to the automobile issue,
quickly,
I believe he should have even thanked the NDC for making the whole world to know that still there are men of God in this country. What is he run away from? In the days that he was in the Italy, that was the time he should have cried. But he kept quiet. Now that he has been shown to the whole world that still men of God will say something 10 years or 6 years ago and it will come to reality. He should have even thanked his stars by even being someone who will say anything.
Okay, thank you very much, Babs. Unfortunately, I do not have much time. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, good evening and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Aqua.
Yeah, Aqua, you're on air.
I'm speaking from Sinyane.
Okay.
Yeah. In actual fact, I don't understand what Utaway has done. You were asked to state your point on what has allegedly been said about you. So you are claiming that you have been accused. Now, people are saying I don't know the name of the group that came up with
Education Watch. That's the name of the group.
Education Watch.
Yeah.
They are saying that they are the people who brought out the case. They've owned up. Why is he still accusing the NDC and the president? Why doesn't he state his point that this is the group? Now, I don't agree with this group. So if they have any backup tape, they should bring it. And we'll all discuss it. So I don't know his point. Yeah,
okay.
He has really made no point.
Okay. Thank you very much for making your point. Yeah.
Yeah, you're rounding
finally
up with a response from the John Mahama 2012 campaign. I think the point has been made clearly that as far as we are concerned, Pastor Mensah Otabil seeks to oversimplify the issue. You cannot hold Pastor Mensah Otabil liable for the actions or inactions of any of his pastors, much less his church members. And so if people who are aligned or sympathetic to the NDC choose to play a tape which is not doctored, if it was doctored, it would be criminal. Yeah. But a tape which is the exact representation of what Pastor Otabil said, they are not putting a spin on it, like we saw with the Baba Jamal tape. This is the real thing.
Okay.
We should stop playing the victim, and they should own up to. And I want to repeat here again. He owes His Excellency an apology. And the Christian Council, an unqualified apology. And the Christian Council must do what they ask politicians to do. That we should name and shame. They should call Pastor Mensah Otabil and sanction
Let
him.
me put that to you. Do you think it's about time people become very bold?
Yeah, because if you read the statement,
name and shame.
Just quickly, if you read, they say, who are those behind this act? Who are those hiding in the shadows and orchestrating this evil agenda? You understand? So it is not somebody hiding in the shadows. Okay. They've come out, and I have said that the executive secretary,
it's
indeed,
lecturer, right?
A senior lecturer. This man has
lecturer.
been a TEU president for over almost 2 decades. This is not a straw. But you see, we need to move forward.
Okay.
And in moving forward, this is not about attack on a reverend minister. This is about building a society where we can work with the truth. The same standards our pastors always hold us to. We just feel that...
Is NDC the victim finally?
I was saying that the same standards our pastors hold us to. This is just the same standards we think that we should hold on to. It doesn't matter whether this is a China, a politician, or a pastor. We need to be fair and put some of these religious sentiments aside. NDC doesn't come into this one except for the unproven allegations. Okay. And like my brother said, it is only fair that if you libel somebody and you don't have the facts, and if you insult somebody and the person draw your attention to it, when you are sober, perhaps he was angry or emotional, the only thing you need to do is to retract so that we can move on. We have no problem against ICGC. Our members are there. NDC have active members of 4 million. at every point in time. When we talk about floating voters, we need floating voters to add to this 4 million. So we will not for any reason want to pitch against.
Unfortunately, on that note, George, I do not have any time. Yes, quickly, please.
The point just has to be made.
Within 5 seconds.
In all of this, the one individual who suffers the most is His Excellency the President, who has been drawn into all of this.
I'm sure it will reach the ears of the members of the ICGC. On that note, viewers, will end tonight's discussion. I'm sure that it is much more interesting than ever before. And make a date with me on Thursday when I come your way with another edition of Majority Caucus. Till then, stay blessed and be good. Bye-bye.
Shalom.